Visualize, for a moment, your mind coiled within you like a serpent, silent and watchful. You go about your daily life, unaware that this snake has already sunk its fangs into your deepest sense of self. A troubling thought slithers into your awareness and wraps itself around your emotions. You find your mood suffocating, your judgments harsh, your sense of peace devoured bit by bit. But is the snake truly an enemy, or is it part of a larger puzzle in your inner world? In many shamanic and spiritual traditions, the mind is often depicted as a double-edged instrument. It can be a catalyst for expansion, or a predator that sabotages our essence. The question is how to neutralize the bite so it doesn't poison our connection to the self. Shamanic lore across diverse cultures paints vivid pictures of snakes as both terrifying and sacred creatures, potent guardians of knowledge, yet also cunning tricksters. Symbolically, the serpent can represent the energetic currents of transformation that move through us. However, when we remain unconscious, this serpent can appear as our own thoughts turned venomous, repeatedly attacking the very core of our well-being. It's as if the mind, once meant to serve our highest aspirations, spirals into destructive loops, condemning us with doubts and fears. Some traditions liken this phenomenon to a self-created prison. We hand the mind the keys, and then lament being locked inside. Think of how quickly you can slip from a neutral mood into a downward spiral because of a single self-deprecating thought. I am not good enough. That thought triggers a cascade of memories or anxieties, each tangling with the next until you are ensnared in a coil of negativity. Soon, you might forget you ever felt calm at all. From a shamanic perspective, what's happening here is more than just mental chatter. It is the serpent within, feeding on the energy you give it. While modern psychology often frames these spirals in terms of negative thought patterns or cognitive distortions, spiritual traditions see them as illusions that obscure the deeper self. Whether we call it Maya in Indian philosophy or the serpent's trick in universal shamanism, the core message is that these illusions are fleeting, yet perilous if left unchecked. A crucial step in neutralizing this snakebite is recognizing that the mind, for all its cunning, is not inherently evil or detrimental. Like a snake that can deliver venom or shed its skin for renewal, the mind has the capacity for both destruction and awakening. In many indigenous healing ceremonies, serpents appear as allies, guiding shamans through transformative visions and revealing hidden truths. Likewise, your mind can become an ally if you learn to work with it rather than simply react to it. The problem arises when the mind runs rampant, unleashing fear, shame, and judgment upon yourself. We often fail to see that we are feeding this cycle by clinging to certain beliefs, refusing to let go of resentments, or indulging negative scenarios that never come to pass. Imagine your thoughts as little vibrations emanating from a central drum, each frequency signaling a state of mind. If the drum resounds with anxious or critical beats, you dance anxiously, stepping on your own toes until exhaustion sets in. The vicious circle intensifies, and you collapse emotionally. But if you learn to hear the drum's rhythm with discernment, if you realize you are not the drum itself, but the one listening, you gain the power to shift the beat. Shamanic teachers often emphasize the role of awareness in listening to the mind's chatter. Rather than forcibly silencing the mind, they advocate a gentle but deliberate approach, witnessing, not suppressing, the flow of thoughts, and choosing which frequencies deserve your attention. Different spiritual paths offer varied methods for stilling the serpent's hiss. In Advaita Vedanta, for instance, practitioners are taught to inquire, "Who am I?" With every wave of thought that arises, one is encouraged to observe and recognize that the true I remains untainted by mental fluctuations. Buddhist lineages similarly teach mindfulness, suggesting that each thought is ephemeral and that we suffer by clinging to them. In shamanic rituals, elaborate ceremonies, drumming, chanting, even the use of plant medicines, serve as catalysts to confront the mind's illusions head-on. The core principle shared by all these traditions is that of stepping into a space beyond the serpent's bite, seeing the snake for what it is, a force that can be either harnessed or left to run wild. Confronting this inner serpent often involves facing the fears that keep it alive. Shamanic initiations frequently revolve around symbolic acts of courage, spending nights alone in the wilderness, journeying into altered states to encounter guides or spirit animals, or enduring physically demanding rites. These trials mirror the mental crucibles we experience every day, challenging us to see that the greatest barrier often lies in our own heads. When we refuse to face the serpent, it remains hidden and continues to strike. By voluntarily stepping into the darkness, be it our innermost shame, regrets, or anxieties, we illuminate these corners of our psyche. In that illumination, the serpent's power often diminishes, for it can no longer hide in the shadows. Another vital element is learning to reframe our relationship with suffering and mistakes. The mind's serpent bites especially hard when we stew in guilt, regret, or perfectionism. We tend to replay scenarios in our heads, fueling a cycle of self-punishment that can last for years. Shamanic perspectives encourage a more fluid view of life's challenges. Every hardship becomes an initiation, each wound a gateway to a deeper aspect of our soul. This doesn't mean romanticizing pain, but rather acknowledging that we can find lessons within discomfort. As we integrate these lessons, the serpent's venom loses its potency, replaced by the wisdom gleaned from adversity. How can we bring these insights into everyday life? One simple technique is to cultivate sacred pauses. Several times a day, interrupt your routine, stop scrolling on your phone, halt your frenzied rush, and simply breathe. Check in with your body. See if tension lingers in your shoulders or if your stomach churns with anxiety. Observe any swirling thoughts. Are they kind, neutral, or harmful? Identifying the mental tone can reveal whether the serpent is active. Once you notice the negativity, try an intentional release. Exhale gently and imagine the tension draining into the earth. Over time, these micro-rituals accumulate, building an awareness that protects you from the serpent's stealthy strikes. In a similar vein, journaling can serve as an effective tool for exposing the serpent's hidden coils. Write down the repetitive thoughts that plague you or the fears that keep you awake at night. Much like a shamanic journey, writing allows you to bring the intangible into the tangible realm. Once on paper, these thoughts lose some of their power. They become words and phrases, no longer an invisible force gnawing at your consciousness. You might discover patterns, places where you consistently put yourself down, or certain topics that trigger a cascade of dread. By shining light on these patterns, you disarm the snake. Community also has a role to play. In ancient times, shamanic rituals were rarely solitary affairs. The entire tribe would rally around the initiate, drumming, dancing, and chanting to create a shared field of energy that supported transformation. In modern life, we may not have the same communal structures, but we can still seek out allies, friends, counselors, spiritual communities who help us maintain clarity. When you share your experiences with trusted companions, you weaken the serpent's grip. Secrecy and isolation feed self-destructive cycles, whereas open-hearted conversation can provide relief and, often, fresh perspectives. Additionally, one of the most direct ways to neutralize the mind's poison is through compassion. Compassion for yourself, for others, and for the ephemeral nature of existence. When the mind rears up with harsh judgments or biting criticism, counter it by consciously infusing the moment with empathy. Picture each negative thought gently dissolving in the warmth of compassion. Recognize that both you and others are navigating complex landscapes of hope and fear. Shamanic traditions often highlight compassion as a healing force that transcends the illusions of separation. By recognizing our shared humanity, we strip the serpent of the isolation it relies on. Finally, remember that the serpent, though formidable, is just one facet of your being. Beneath the torrent of mental chatter lies the spaciousness of your true self. You can glimpse this vastness in moments of stillness, deep meditation, or a walk in nature that clears your head. A shaman might suggest that your true self is like the cosmic sky. Thoughts, emotions, and even the serpent itself are passing clouds. They may appear threatening, but they cannot stain the sky's essential purity. Every spiritual tradition echoes this in its own way. The heart of your existence is untouched by the storms that swirl on the surface. The serpent's bite, when recognized as part of your own creation, loses its lethal sting and becomes a reminder to realign with the abiding serenity that is always present. Look inward now. Can you sense that subtle part of you which is beyond thought? Even if only for a fleeting second, feeling that quiet presence can serve as the antidote to the serpent's poison. You are allowed to pause, to rest in that stillness, and to let the mind's restlessness settle. Over time, these pauses stretch out, and the serpent's hiss becomes a distant echo, no longer the thunderous voice dictating your life's every move. In reclaiming that stillness, you plant the seeds of a profound shift, one that grows each time you choose awareness over reactivity, compassion over critique, and intuition over fearful speculation. Thus, you transmute the serpent from a relentless foe into a wise companion on the path to self-discovery. Neutralizing the mind snake's bite isn't about eradicating thought altogether. It's about remembering who wields the true power. The mind can be a cunning enchanter or a luminous guide, depending on your relationship to it. In shamanic terms, you are the dreamer behind the dream, capable of shaping the narrative of your own consciousness. Recognizing that capacity is the first step to dissolving illusions that once seemed so real. Embrace that your mind, when harnessed, can become a wellspring of clarity rather than a source of torment. In that realization, you discover a deeper truth. The serpent's poison is not your destiny. Yourself remains sovereign, ever poised to awaken to its limitless potential.